Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin and today we're going to be doing quite a fun and magical one, and that we're going to be looking into your spiritual, psychic, and magical gifts and abilities. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. Alright, so welcome back, beautiful kindred spirits of mine and every other magical soul that has found their way to this channel and this beautiful community that we have. I am, as I said, really excited to bring this one to you. I've done a psychic and spiritual magical gifts and abilities kind of video before, so this isn't my first rodeo, but I do want to let anyone know who's already watched my previous one that this one is still going to apply to you, because I have it where we're basically going to be looking into any new gifts that are coming in, any new epiphanies, any new spiritual awakenings, and that this is available to you guys at any time, so you can check back in. But this one is going to be looking into your spiritual, your magical, and your psychic gifts and abilities. So we're going to be looking into all three of these different tiers. Different piles had more of each, so you can definitely play with all of them, watch them all, watch different pieces of them, play around. This is definitely going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be using your own gifts to look into the piles here today as well. So this is going to be a play back and forth, you and me working together to see what comes through. And before we start looking into these piles, I do want to let you guys know, if you want to join this beautiful community of kindred spirits, then definitely feel free to do so by subscribing and putting on the post notifications using the little bell, so you can be notified of every video that I put up, which is always on Monday. So you can always look out for those, for monthly readings, for different blessings that are coming in for you, for timeless readings, and even weekly ones. So definitely check those out, and check out this channel if that's something you're interested in. You can also check out the different private and personal readings that I do, with the snail mail readings that I do, where I send a letter to you in the mail that is typewritten on a vintage typewriter from the 1970s. We can go into different messages for career, for your personal empowerment, for your psychic and magical gifts and abilities, as this is a collective reading. If you want to go even deeper and dive even deeper into that side of yourself, then that's something we can definitely do with these types of readings, as I also send in ritual handmade materials for you to use in your rituals, like the handmade magical spell paper that I create and ritual paper, as well as a personalized sigil that is custom to you. So there's a lot we can dive into with those different readings, so definitely check those out if that's a way you would like to help continue to support this channel and keep it running. I really do appreciate each of you who have checked those out and have been able to empower yourself in the process. So before I ramble on anymore, let's go ahead and look at these magical piles. So with my last reading like this, I did a intuitive message for each of you. So each of these piles have a very specific automatic kind of drawing that I created that's supposed to sort of bring forth your own intuition. So definitely look into each of these messages, see which one really sparks you, if there's specific lines that just call to you, as well as a crystal. So for the very first one, I wanted to create groups that had about the same amount of crystal size. So in this case, I didn't have 3 palm stones of Labradorite, but I wanted to still use that same stone. So we have 3 different pieces of Labradorite here for pile number 1. Here is the flash on that one. There you go. Now it's in focus, but there is pile 1 with the first one. This is also another one. And then this is the final one. So those are the different stones you could choose for pile number 1, but you also have the option to look at this specific intuitive drawing. Feel free to pause the video and really look at it. I'm going to turn it different ways so that you can really see it, but that is pile number 1. For pile number 2 here, we have this specific crystals. This is Labradorite as well, they all will be, but this is the larger crystal, and this is some of the flash that you can find within it. In case that resonates with you, a lot of it is this very deep blue. But then we also have this for your intuitive message. As always, feel free to pause and see what comes in here for you. But this is it in different views, in different angles, in case that changes or resonates different for you. So that's pile number 2. And lastly here for pile number 3, we also have an intuitive message, but this is the stone that we have here with Labradorite as well. This one has a much more orange and yellow flash to it, as well as a little bit of green at the top. And then this side is got a little bit more of a blue tone. So that is pile number 3 there, but here is your specific intuitive message. Definitely see how it resonates, see what you see in it. But here are some more different angles and positions. As always, feel free to pause. But that is pile number 3. All right, so before you choose your specific pile, feel free to take a deep breath here with me so we can really deep dive into your intuition here and slow yourself down, ground your energy down, and center yourself. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath together here now. And as always, you can choose any one of the piles that really call to you. You can choose 1 pile, 2 piles, all 3 piles. You can choose a pile, change, and flip-flop as much as you'd like with the pile that you've chosen. There really is no right or wrong way to do this. So if you already know which pile is for you, feel free to go in the description to find your timestamp or within the chapter marks of the video as well. And if you want to look into a deeper side of this spiritual community, then definitely check out my Instagram below as well, as I am there all the time. And I love to have conversations with you guys, especially on the spiritual witchy woo-woo side. So if that's something you guys would like to join in on, then check that out as well below. So before I waffle on even further, let's go ahead and dive right in with pile number 1. Hello Group 1, if you've decided to choose the 3 different pieces of Labradorite and this intuitive drawing, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it down right here for you so you can see it for your reading here today. Feel free to really settle your energy, get grounded, and open your mind to see what beautiful gifts and abilities you have within your psychic side as well as your spiritual side today, as we're going to be using the charms, the watercolor affirmations. We're also going to be using the letter tiles today as well to get even an added bonus of information, and several different oracle decks. I'm not sure if we're going to use all of them for your reading or if we're going to play around, but those will all be listed in the description below if you want to see what decks they are. And then also we're going to be using the Everyday Witch Tarot, which I recently edged and I love the new color. So anyways, let's go ahead and settle our energy and get ready for this reading. Please do be sure to send your energy in through time and space here now so we can really figure out what gifts and psychic abilities you have. So like I said in the intro, this is for advanced or beginners in magic, in learning these sides of yourself. Here we have the Wheel of Fortune. So there is something about playing around with the seasons, possibly connecting to the Celtic Wheel of the Year, or maybe Wiccan magic. But we do have 10 as well as the Wheel of Fortune showing up here as your first card. There's also a little cat here at the bottom playing with some dice, so that could also be a divinatory kind of message. So we're definitely going to see more of that. But let's see what psychic abilities, magical gifts, and spiritual sides of yourself you can be exploring at this time and bringing out. So group one, let's see what they are. Let's see what they're bringing to the table. So you also have here the Devil showing up with the number 15, as well as another little cat. I mean, all of these cards have little kitty cats, which I actually really love. But this doesn't necessarily mean that you're working with really trickstery spirits or anything like that. Although if that's something that you're inclined to wanting to do, you have free will. But I was going to say that there is this volcano in the back, and we're getting 2 major arcana. So there's a lot of really strong information already coming in about that your abilities are quite strong. They come forth with a lot more clear focus. And then I also think that there is a bit more of that fiery element that's starting to show up. So we're trying to see what element is coming in here most for you. Group 1. So which element would be the best one to be really working with here for group 1? Oh my goodness, you got 3 major arcana cards. So we also have the number 4 as well as the Emperor. So I guess you're not really working, with that wheel. I think that any of them are really going to work in your favor. I think you're well balanced in the fact that that wheel is here. But there is a bit of fire and there is a bit of earth here with the Emperor, with the 4 energy. So we're going to see how fire and earth are really working with you as we keep going. But I honestly think you're quite balanced as, your soul is quite balanced and doesn't really mind. Oh, sorry about the blur there. But it doesn't really mind what it takes on. I think you can work with a lot of different modalities and it's going to work in your favor, but there is something about needing to work with structure and having a clear plan with whatever you plan to use your magical side for within your rituals and spell work. But we're going to dive even deeper as we head into the oracle cards. So we're going to get some more information to send your energy in. So we have protection. Okay, it also has this beautiful earth kind of goddess showing up here, possibly more of like a Gaia kind of figure. But there is protection. So there is something, I am honestly getting quite a Wiccan vibe, which hasn't happened before. I personally am not Wiccan. I know that there's definitely a difference because it's quite a more religious path, in the fact that with spirituality it's more towards witchcraft in general, but then Wicca is its own thing. So you could look into Wicca. It doesn't mean you have to be Wiccan because you chose this pile, but there is sort of this more Wiccan vibe. The other thing that I was going to say too is we do have both the butterfly and this devil, which I'll talk more on as we get deeper into your pile, but there is something about transforming yourself through your magic that I think your magic is very empowering for you. I don't think it's about getting back on an ex or a friend or something like that. I think that a lot of your magic has a lot to do with working on yourself, to empower yourself, to move forward, to bring your light forward, as you can see here. But then also there's this angelic vibe too. So if you guys work with any spirit guides, definitely check in with that kind of thing, because there are more winged spirits that are either communicating with you or could communicate in that way. So we are getting sort of an air element as well. Like I said, you have a you're very powerful in the fact that I think you really could wield any one of the elements really, really well. Possibly if you know your guys' birth chart for astrology, then definitely see if you are very well balanced in there. You might just have a very good equal amount of each of those elements, or at least that they are balancing out within your magical side. But let's keep going. I do want to get more information because I can get chatty. So let's see, group 1 here. What do you have coming in for your clairs? And I talked about clairs in my first video, by their proper clairsentient, causonant, I can't say them properly, which is why I'm going to just say the clear hearing or clear seeing or clear, tasting or whatever it is, because it's basically just a fancy word of saying that. So I'm just going to tell you in the ruffian terms, but let's see some more information on that. So we have a book. So there is a element of possibly working with art witchery, or working with a book of shadows, that's going to be really helpful, or a grimoire. But you definitely are going to need to put in a lot of research at this time. I also saw that with the Emperor, that wherever you are in your magical path right now, there is something about still needing to research especially protection spells, protection charms, protection amulets, because you may be working on your spell work, and I do think you guys seem at least at least the majority of you guys who chose this pile, I think, are more on the at least amateur or expert level of witchcraft. You've been doing it for a few years, or you're already kind of in it, because there is something about already having quite a lot of knowledge, or at least that you have a lot of knowledge available to you, possibly within your family line, or that there's just people already in your community that you can talk to and start to learn more at this time. So definitely knowledge is key, and making sure that you work on your protection magic is going to be really important. So that's about working with, especially if you go towards like the Wiccan side of things, you're going to want to protect yourself with a circle or a magic circle, or basically just a space where you call in the elements and you are able to, especially since you work with a lot of them, you call in all of the elements in spirit yourself to create a protective circle before any spell work. This is also known as like a cone of power, as it not only protects but also keeps in all of the energy that you're working on within your spell work. So there is something about a circle, there's something about wielding your power in a way that is protective in that circle way, like creating your own little world in that space and making sure that it's safe and protected by your guides as well. So there is something about needing to continue to protect yourself, and especially I know personally as someone who's been practicing for a few years now, that sometimes you're like, protection smection, you know, I don't need to protect myself, I'm fine. But sometimes we need to reconnect with those roots. So for those of you who needed that message, that's coming in. But let's go ahead and look into some more information for you. Group. Okay, so we also have jump. So group 1, we have jump. It says, where am I ready to leap forward? And we have the grasshopper here, as well as these sunflowers. So I'm going to definitely, and we have the earth element showing up here. I love these cards. They have little symbols everywhere, but we have jump. This is the action suit of these cards. So this has a lot to do with fire. So again, we have fire, we have earth, we have more fire with those sunflowers. So there is something about putting action or putting fire to your earth energy, which we were seeing here, right? We had the earth and then we had that fire. So what you need to start putting structure to within your magic and things you can start implementing is, 1, creating structure within your protection magic so that you can leap forward in those things that you want to leap forward into, but also the magic that you're doing, making sure that it is for your greatest good and empowering yourself, really letting go and really going for it. Because there is something about wanting to transform at this time, because the devil talks about people manipulating us, our own minds manipulating us. It talks about the sides of ourselves, our shadow selves. So it can be a bit of shadow work that you may be wanting to work and move into. But there also is this idea of, like I said, just trying to empower yourself in general with magic. And most of the time people do. Usually witchcraft tends to be something that a lot of people who are in marginalized groups, in minorities, tend to just find themselves finding a beautiful space here. So if you connect with that, I feel like you're ready to leap forward on your new journey if this is new for you. And I think that you need to find structure by researching at this time. There's a lot of research. There's a lot that you can be looking into within Wicca, within the Wheel of the Year, within the seasons, and connecting with each of the elements as you go, because I think that you're just looking for the whole picture versus just one side of it. Again, with all of those elements, it's just giving me a lot of Wiccan vibes, but definitely take that how it resonates. But if you've been worried about jumping in, or you're worried or scared that you can't do it, there is something about wanting to light that fire inside your soul and really bring it forward, jump it into this beautiful spiritual space that is you. I'm going to go ahead and pull one more here, and then we're going to move on to the letter tiles and the charms to get even more information, the smaller details. But I do want to start to look into also, I know I've talked a lot on the magic side because it's really come through a lot with your pile. I also forgot to mention we have another 10 here and 26, so that's another 10. just thought I'd show that. But I haven't really talked a lot on your psychic gifts or your clairs, so I'll talk about that before we move on. But I do want to go ahead and pull, I think I just dropped those out, but I'm going to go ahead and pull you guys one of these. So group 1 here, let's get your final message. So we have progress, not perfection. Just what I was saying with that jump in. Progress, not perfection. This is not supposed to be perfect. You are allowed to make mistakes, especially if you are at the beginning. Making sure that you protect yourself is going to make sure that you feel more confident in what you are doing, to empower yourself to. So like I said, I don't feel like you're doing like money magic or things like that, or trying to get a lover, or trying to like, I don't know, do something like on a more specific, like trying to get something from someone else. I think it's more about empowering something from within. Also, because of that, I do think that a lot of the signs and signals that you're getting are, and because it's so holistic here, are coming from like yourself, from like within. So I think you're very much more, your clair is like clair, I believe sentient. I can never remember them all, like I said. So it's like basically the feeling, like you get like a gut feeling. You get it from your very inner gut self. You just know, you have this inner knowing. You can't always explain it. It's not like you heard a voice or you saw something in your mind or whatever. It just comes in. Like sometimes you get a tingling in your hands, especially if you're choosing the piles and you were feeling like a tingling in your hands, or some sort of like tangible feeling or something like within your soul that you can really feel and connect to. I think that is honestly the strongest one that's coming through. We did have a little bit of hearing with that air element. We had a little bit with, I was just looking to see if there was another one, but honestly, it's really just confirming even more for me that it's clairsentient. I do believe I'm saying that right. Or where you can tangibly feel things or just know, because we do have the antennas, right, with this grasshopper. So again, when you jump into a situation, before you do, you always check the situation to feel if you're protected, if you know that things are right, and to really feel out your spiritual gifts on a psychic level, because, right, like an ant or a grasshopper or most insects, right, they have to feel things out with feeling, and a bit of like hearing with sound waves, but most of it is coming in through, just an inner knowing and knowing through their just general instincts. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and move on to your charms and letter tiles, because I've already talked like for 20 minutes on your guys' pile on just the cards, and I don't want to snub you of time for the rest of them. So we're going to go ahead and move on to your letter tiles here. So this is names, dates, places, but also we're going to see if there is any specific words that can be spelled out. So do send your energy in. Okay. So what I like right off the bat is that most of your letters fell upright, which just means like, I just think that, like I said, you're not really hiding that you have these gifts or anything like that. But let's go ahead and look into the ones that you did get. So, right off the bat, I know that it doesn't actually say learn. But is anyone else seeing learn here? I think that no, it does. L-E, don't mind me just trying to figure out how to spell learn. But there is more to do with that book, right? And that you're leaning into learning what is coming in. Like, I feel like you're getting these gifts. I think you're starting to hear and really feel this instinct within you. Not even really hear it. Like I said, you just feel it on the inside that you're being really called to these gifts, being called to maybe Wicca, or being called to wanting to work to empower yourself. So especially if you're more on the, like, you've done witchcraft for a while, but maybe you just never had a clear focus of what you wanted to use your witchcraft for. there is this calling right now for you that you should be working to uplift yourself, to really work on, especially if you're like possibly like a light work or something. Maybe you've been working for other people, you've been doing divination for other people, right? We had that cat with the dice. But I think you want to uplift yourself right now. Start working on yourself in terms of transformational magic, in terms of, and these are very specific, very nuanced to you kinds of things. Like if you've come out of a recent relationship, if you've come out of a difficult time in your life, if you just are like, wow, I finally opened my eyes to how big and wonderful and amazing I am, and why am I not moving myself forward? Why am I staying at this lower grade version or level of myself when I know I can get to the higher tiers of what I'm looking for in life? I think you're ready to learn. So open some books, start looking into transformational magic, start looking into different types of ways that you can wield your magic, possibly through a new religion like Wicca, or possibly through protection magic, amulets. Maybe you need to like block some people out of your life in terms of using amulets or protection, because there's just people that are keeping you low. But there's something about needing to learn from lessons or learn there from the past, right? We had that progress, not perfection. So definitely see where that resonates for you. We also have the letter Z as well. I heard Gen Z, so there's something about maybe being younger again. But we do have L, E, A, R, N, R, and Z. But I'm going to go ahead and let you guys decipher some more of those. And I'm going to quickly do a little charm cast for you. Do let me know if you see any other words in those, because I'd love to see. We have Ray showing up here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stir these up. Okay, I was feeling a lot of the ones right on the top. Oh my goodness, and we got the butterfly right in the center. Okay, so I'm going to zoom you in so you can actually see here. But I was feeling all of the really light charms. So they're not very heavy, they're very light. We got 2 with logic. So again, there is something about with the Emperor needing to have a clear plan when you go into your spell work, when you go into whatever you're going to do, when you hear that gut feeling. So then put that into context, start figuring out what that really means, versus just feeling it and then like not doing anything with the call that you're hearing, because I think that's really important. Prep work, again, really important, because now we have the preparation charm, because this is an icicle, and if you don't prepare for the icicles, if you don't knock them down during the winter, they can become really dangerous when it starts to melt. So making sure that you are protected, making sure that you are also thinking ahead with the magic that you're doing. How is it going to impact other people? How is it going to impact yourself? And being very selective about the words that you're using, especially if you're going to use words in your spell work. But yeah, we have a lot of logic coming in here with 2 different logic charms. There is something about that with the Emperor needing logic, but there's also transformation, and then we had that jump in, right? Or that jump with the grasshopper, and this is like basically the jump charm. It's like time to move forward, move yourself forward. And then we have the transformation charm with the iridescent butterfly. So there's definitely a bit more air element showing up here, but there is definitely like this, like, I just want to transform. You're going through a very transformative moment, and sometimes that's exciting, sometimes that's a little scary, but it's not going to last forever, because we do have the short or temporary energy charm. And then we had the overwhelm charm. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by your spiritual gifts, if you're feeling a bit like, oh, I don't know what to do with all of them, just center back in, see where your gifts really lie in terms of that like inner feeling, and start putting structure to them. Make lists about them, make lists, start learning what magic really is. Go beyond this reading and start really looking into that for protection, for transformational magic, and possibly Wicca or the Wheel of the Year. And start really researching that. Start diving into it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any spell work, but it's there and available to you if you want it. So I do believe that is everything for your reading here, group 1, I hope you found this useful and helpful and fun and magical. Definitely you guys had a more magical pile, so there is something about that, but there is that clear feeling. There is research, protection magic. You're very well rounded in terms of the type of magic you can do within your spiritual practice in terms of the elements. But yeah, so I think there's a lot you can jump into. Just feel into it, play around with it. You don't have to do anything right off the bat. But with all of that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please do give this video a like if you really liked it, and let me know in the comments down below how this resonated with you. Also, feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more of these Monday videos. And if you want to dive even deeper into your pile and really seek out some more answers within your spiritual magic, do reach out to me on Instagram or here in a comment to get a reading from me through my personal and private readings. But with all of that said, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello, Group 2. If you've decided to choose this specific message with this intuitive drawing as well as the larger piece of Labradorite, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it down here so you can see it during your reading, see if it resonates within your inner knowings. We are going to be using the charms, the watercolor affirmations. We're also going to be using the letter tiles today and various oracle decks, which I may use them all. I may use in different orders. We're going to see. I'm just going to play around with them, but I'll have them all listed down below in the description if you'd like to see which ones I used. And we're also going to be using the Everyday Witch Tarot. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Do be sure to settle yourself down, feel comfortable, get yourself in a comfortable space for this reading as we're going to begin here in a second. But I do want to let you guys know we're going to be looking into not only your spiritual gifts and your spiritual path, and this can be for anyone on any spectrum, however much knowledge you already have on the subject. We're going to dive into it, but I do want to let you guys know, instead of saying like clairsentient or claircognizant or whatever the words are, because I always have a hard time saying them, I'm going to just use clear hearing, clear seeing, clear whatever the specific one is for your psychic gifts, because I just personally find that a lot easier to digest the language. But you're welcome to look into it even further after this reading. But just wanted to let you guys know as we go ahead and head on in. So, Group 2, what are your spiritual, magic, and psychic gifts that are awakening at this time or being called to you at this time? So, Group 2. So first off, we have the Knight of Swords. You guys can be very impulsive with your magic, with your gifts, and there is this air element. There's this very fast, they are the fastest knight, so there is something about, like I said, following your impulse. So there is a bit of that, like, just clear knowing, but there also is that air element. So we're going to see how swiftly those messages come in. They may just be like, you just know. But we're going to see if that's grounded in anything with the other elements that may be coming in, since we only have air so far. So Group 2, let's get some more information, more clarity on this right now. So we also have the Nine of Pentacles showing up here. So the Nine of Pentacles, that's a very high one in terms of the numbers for Pentacles. So that's earth element, which is really interesting because air and earth are opposites. So we're going to see if one dominates over the other within this reading, or if they somehow you work really well with opposites, possibly. So we're going to see Group 2 here. Group 2, and feel free to send your energy in through time and space. So we also have the Hierophant, number 5. So either you are an expert wanting to teach others at this time, or there is something about wanting to do some sort of spiritual teaching and mentoring, or learning from a mentor yourself. But you're definitely in the path or in the zone to already wanting to learn, or at least your soul is like, yes, let's learn some more. Interesting that you had the Eight of Wands as well. So there is a lot of air and earth energy, and kind of working those together, because 5 can talk about conflict. So there is something about this conflicting air and water, air and earth elements kind of trying to conflict with one another, and how you can start to bridge that gap. But we're going to see some more information before I dive fully in here. So group 2 here. Group 2. What do we have coming in for group 2? So first off, we have compassion coming in here. Another one with an earth showing up. Like the first group also had an earth showing up, but in this case, I feel like with this card, I'm going to let you guys really get a look at it here. There is like a starseed vibe, which is maybe where the conflict is coming in, right? Because air can talk about space or talking about like something much more bigger, more cosmic. And then we have the earth element of being in your earthly home, in your earthly space, living an earthly human life. So there is something of a starseed element, which I was seeing here, right? Trying to connect your starseed self to your earthly mission. If that does not resonate with you, that's totally fine. I don't personally find myself to be a starseed, although I think they're very interesting. But that might be something to be researching into, looking to see if you have more of a cosmic past, and possibly why you're wanting to teach or to bring some sort of teaching or mentoring on this earthly plane. But I definitely think that's super interesting, but we're going to look even deeper. So group 2 here. Let's get some more information on the psychic and spiritual gifts coming in for group 2. Wow, that one just flew right out. So we have protect. Seriously, did group 2 choose this, or group 1 choose this pile as well? So interesting. So we have protect. This one's slightly different though. It says, how can I safeguard what is sacred to me? And then we have meadowlark here. We also have the, that's so funny. We have both the earth and air elements showing up here. So again, there's something about wanting to almost protect yourself from your own abilities, especially if you are just starting out. There is something about being like, oh no, I'm not a starseed, or oh no, I don't want to look at that. I just want to move to the next thing. Move. And every time you get this psychic feeling or impulse feeling, I feel like you don't know how to ground it down and understand it and really digest the psychic inner knowings and clarity that you're receiving, because I think you're receiving it on some like really high level and you're like, I don't know how to digest that. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with that. I don't have those powers. I don't have that gifts. I don't know what magic is. I don't want to play with that. So there is something about you've almost been, instead of needing, like in group 1, it was about needing to do protection magic. In this case, I think you're protecting yourself from your own abilities, because you're not ready to unlock them all at once. And that's totally okay. Spiritual awakenings can be really massive things for some. It can be really transformative but scary, or just like I don't know how to balance that. So I totally understand. And on that level, definitely you do not have to jump in all at once. You can just start hearing and I keep saying hearing because we have that air element. I really do think that you guys have more of a hearing, because we have that meadowlark. They have songs they speak through, and they're winged. So I do think you have these inner knowings and clarities that are coming through hearing. So if you hear voices, you hear past loved ones, you hear old past starseed messages coming in. Light language possibly is a thing for you to be looking into with that starseed vibe. Maybe even Pleiades and Arcturian. But there is something about music as well that's coming in. So I think that also I think you hear a lot of your inner knowings and inner clarity and psychic gifts, and the messages that are coming into you. I think a lot of them come in through music that you're listening to. So I think maybe you have a beautiful playlist. I personally use shufflemancy, which is maybe something you should look into as well. Shufflemancy is a way of putting together a very sacred playlist to you, where it's basically like a deck that you curate through music. So you can curate all of the songs and be like, okay, this song can represent this in this deck, or it can represent protection, or this song represents compassion, or this song represents heartbreak, or whatever it is. They each represent one specific thing, and you curate the entire playlist, and then when you put it on shuffle or when you're listening to it, you can start to hear specific words come through, specific messages that are coming through for you, and you're really going to heighten in on that. You're very good with your selective hearing, and it's going to really dive into that specific chorus, that specific word, and it's almost like poetry to your ears. And when you start to allow yourself to listen to that music, listen to that inner knowing, listen to that inner hearing, even beyond your music, just in the world in general, I think that those whispers in the wind are actually going to be really beneficial to you, and are going to help you get to the life that you want and get to the missions that you're after on this earthly realm, and are going to teach you a lot if you allow yourself to listen to them. But I do want to dive in even further, so let's keep going. So group 2 here. Lots more of a psychic side for you guys, group 2. More of a cosmic psychic side. So if you guys are interested in star seeds and that kind of stuff, and I didn't mention, but we do have these like little feathers that are coming through with this one as well. And as I was talking about all that hearing and this shufflemancy, they were really calling to me. Those can be messages from spirit as well. So definitely listen to not only your inner hearings, but also if you're seeing a lot of corresponding messages with feathers, then that might be something to look into for angelic messages or from your guides. So that might be something to look into, especially since we have that bird as well. But let's see, group 2. What do we have coming in here for you, group 2? So we have the wildflowers. Beautiful. Again, a lot of wind that comes in from the wildflowers. They grow from the wind. There's pollen in the wind. It's like the whole wind element is what makes them alive to grow. So we have the number 9 showing up here, as well as the Queen of Swords. Again, another air element. We've got like these daisies, all these colors. Maybe you even hear colors. I know some people have that where you can hear colors or they almost get like kind of mixed different senses that you have. So that might be something that could work in your advantage for your psychic gifts. We have 9 and the Queen of Swords. And then we have the Knight of Swords. So I think you're moving from being this knight into this beautiful wildflower, allowing your sacred gifts to be wild and free and grounded into a way that is tangible enough for you to use, versus you being kind of like bombarded by messages right now. Maybe you're still at the very beginning of your spiritual awakenings and you're like, I'm getting the messages, but what do I do with all of these messages? So yeah, like what do you do with all of these messages? So I think you're in that beginning budding stages of learning what these messages really mean. And I was just noticing we have more of these daisies. So there is something about purifying those messages down into something you can really sit with. So maybe meditating or creating a playlist that is curated so that you actually understand the messages that are coming in and you give them direction. So sometimes, right, we have guides and they don't really know how to work with you. You're still at the budding stages of everything. They're like, I'm like just throwing out feathers left and right, and I'm sending messages and they're just not receiving them. They don't understand them. They can't take them in. How do I make this work? And like your spiritual team's like, I don't know what to do for you. But I think if you want to work with those guides that you have with your spiritual team on that level, your cosmic team, then I think what you're going to need to do is possibly do it through meditation, by grounding practices, by really, meditating, lowering your energy back down, grounding it back down, looking into grounding practices as well as centering your energy. I think that's going to be really helpful, not only in your magic, but also in your psychic gifts. But then by making those playlists, by making things that are understandable to you, that you're like, okay, this song means this song means this is yes, this is no. The moment you start doing that, I think you're going to be able to actually filter, because I think that's what you've been having a hard time, is filtering the messages that are coming in. We have all this wind, but you need to filter that through a mesh of some sort that you understand, so that these messages don't get lost, so they can empower you like these wildflowers. Otherwise it's just like blowing wind at nothing, but the flowers are kind of catching those messages, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pull you one more card here before we move on to your charms and letter tiles, but do stay tuned for those. I just wanted to mention that I'm going to also look into your guys's I think I've been talking a lot about your psychic gifts because they've been coming through the farthest and the deepest, whereas pile 1 had a lot more magical side. But I'm going to see more on the magic before we head in to the last part of the reading with the charms and everything. So group 2 here, group 2. What do we need to know about the psychic and magical gifts of group 2 at this time? Okay. So we have honesty is the best policy, as well as live for today. So with the live for today, just because of the color, it's giving me like you have like a spark, like you're at the very beginnings of something. Like I said, I feel like you guys are like, I'm living for today. I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to just try this out. It may seem woo-woo and bonkers and out of my league, but I'm going to just try it out. But then there's also the honesty is the best policy. So I think, like I said, you've been protecting yourself from being able to see the complexities and beauty in your gifts and abilities this time. I think that you're like, okay, this was a fun video to just try out, but I didn't really think that there was actually anything here. So if it's resonating with you and there's something here for you, definitely listen to it, and see what's coming through and be honest with yourself. Because like I said, big awakenings can be a lot, but I think that we go through multiple of them in our time, and I think you're maybe awakening yourself currently to this new gift, or that you are awakening yourself to this magical community inside of yourself in general. So in terms of the magic side, like I said, I think that you should definitely work with earth and air for your elements. So with air, we talked a lot about that with shufflemancy and that kind of stuff, but with earth, I think something that might be interesting to you is to work with like a pendulum. I have a pendulum right here, is to work with a pendulum. I think that might be another great filter for you, because it kind of works with the air and sound as you speak out what you need to do, but it has it grounded in the earth. So that might be something to look into, is pendulums. But that's something, I think that you have a lot more divinatory side to your guys' self. I think that's something you should look into, is divination, as well as the starseed side of yourself. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to the rest of your reading, because I talked a ton on your guys' cards and I don't want you guys to miss out on the rest of what's coming through. So group 2, let's go ahead and look into your letter tiles. Wow, I gave you guys so many. So I saw money right away, and I was thinking earlier that I didn't really speak much on this 9 of Pentacles, but there is something about possibly working more with earthly realms in terms of empowering yourself through money magic, or finances, or financial abundance. We have a lot of letters here, so I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys, and sort through them though. But anyway, so we have moo, so maybe something about cows. I know one of you at least that typically watches some of my piles actually goes by moo, so I don't know if that's for you specifically. But we have here, I'll go ahead and state what they all are. So we have OETMOOLCR, 3 I's, so we have I, and Q. So you definitely, whenever a cue shows up that tells me that someone's questioning something, so like I said, you're at these beginning stages, you're questioning your magic, questioning your abilities, trying to see where you fit into that picture, and possibly looking for more or looking for answers and allowing yourself or letting yourself see those. But I'm going to go ahead and let you start to look through these yourself as I move on to your charms, because I am running out of allotted time for you guys. Only have 7 minutes left for your guys' pile. And I don't want you to miss out on the charms where we get those extra little details, but do let me know. Feel free to write these down and see if they even come out in some of that shufflemancy you do or come out in anything that you do magically. We have 2 as well. As a Leo, that also just came in. That's interesting. But anyway, I'm waffling on. Do let me know in the comments if you see anything else. But let's go ahead and dive into the charms. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and sort these out. We have trustworthy showing up here with a Taurus. So we have Leo and Taurus, which I think is kind of funny because I am a Taurus sun and a Leo rising. But definitely see where that shows up in your chart because that gives you a little bit more of that earth element. We have more earth element. We have more earth element. So things are starting to come into more than just one element here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom you in so you can see more. And definitely see what comes in for you. Because I always do say that these piles, as much as I can say everything that I see, it's important, especially when we're talking about your spiritual gifts and abilities, that you look into them too and see what comes through. But we do have definitely spirit guides working in your favor. We have the spiritual path, or this just talks about spirit guides working in your favor for a common goal, and they're going to be a silver lining. So even though this may seem overwhelming, the tab's open. It's opened up this new gate, this new portal for you, this new space for you to grow into. And definitely you are being told to be flexible at this time. Make sure that you aren't allowing a lot of doubt to come in, that this is something exciting for you. You can claw at it as much as you want, but it's going to be really exciting. We also have Cancer showing up here as well. So there's definitely in terms of that side of maybe having someone spiritually teaching you, we do have Leo, Taurus, and Cancer. So there could be something in that in terms of who you might be wanting to work with. There is more of that protection, protecting yourself. You're like, no, I live on the earth. I don't have this spiritual side to me. I don't understand cosmic what. So there is, again, and even with that I and the one, you're like looking to yourself and being like, I am not part of this bigger whole, but you are definitely a part of a bigger whole, and you're about to have your picture like opened up. Your world is about to just be like, whoo, wow, it's so much bigger than I ever thought. So definitely allow yourself to play in this spiritual space is what I'm seeing a lot here with these charms, is allowing yourself to play. You don't have to do it all at once, but there is something about needing to play, needing to just accept that you have these gifts and see where they take you. Find a structure that makes sense for you, either with the pendulum or with the shufflemancy, but I do think that that is going to be really important for you to open these gifts and see what comes through. In terms of guides that are coming in, like I said, we have the crab, we also have a bunny and a turtle. So we have water and sort of earth showing up here again, but I think it's time for you to hear that call. I think it's time for you to allow yourself to see it. Because you are far more powerful than you think, and you have far more potential for this world than you think. So definitely look into starseeds, look into shufflemancy or pendulums, look into possibly working with a mentor or researching your spiritual gifts and sides, especially when it comes to hearing, for clair hearing, because that's going to be a great place to start. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it off here for you, group. 2, I hope you found this reading useful and helpful. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like. It really does help so much. So thank you to everyone who has liked the video thus far. I appreciate it so much. Also, please let me know in the comments down below how this resonated for you. Are you a Leo, a Taurus, a Cancer? Do you consider yourself a star seed? All that kind of stuff. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Also, feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more of these Monday readings, as I put out a reading every single Monday. And also, if you are new, feel free to subscribe. And if you are interested in supporting yourself even further, diving into these gifts even further, maybe even grounding them a little bit more, feel free to check out my snail mail personal and private readings. They're a reading I send to you in the mail that you can receive for love, for going into your spiritual gifts, for career. We can dive into a lot of things, whatever your question or query is. We can dive into that, but I send that letter in the mail to you. It is typewritten and easy to read from a vintage typewriter from the 1970s that I use. And I also have the option to send in some magical ritual tools that you can use with a personalized custom sigil, and also handmade spell and magical ritual paper that I send to you as well, that is curated and chosen specifically for you. So you can definitely check out those on my Instagram to see the honest reviews that other people have had from the ones they've received. And you can also DM me or email me if that's something you are interested in. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Please do be sure to let me know how this resonated, and definitely open yourself up to these abilities. I'm very excited for this spiritual journey you're about to kind of find yourself in, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello Group 3, if you've decided to choose the medium-sized piece of Labradorite as well as this specific intuitive drawing, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set it down here for you so you can really look at it during this reading. Feel free to get settled and really gather your thoughts, as we are going to be looking into your spiritual and magical and psychic gifts and abilities. And I do want to give a quick disclaimer that I am not going to be going into each of the clairs in terms of their specific names with like clairsentient and everything, because I always have a hard time stating them and remembering the exact ones that go to each of them. So instead, I'm just going to put it into layman's terms and something that's easily digestible, especially for those who are new, and basically just say the clear seeing or clear hearing or clear feeling, or whatever it is specifically for you, clear taste. So instead, I will be going into that and explaining how that works for you. But I just wanted to let you guys know. So if you guys are settled, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are going to be using the charms, the watercolor affirmations. We're going to also be using a lot of different oracle decks, which I will have listed down below in the description in case you want to see which ones I used. We're also going to be doing a letter tile cast, and we're going to be using the Everyday Witch Tarot. So there is a lot to dive into. So let's go ahead and start diving on in. If you guys are settled and ready, feel free to send your energy in through time and space now, and see what comes in for you guys. I'm super excited. So Group 3, what do you have coming in for your psychic, spiritual, and magical gifts and abilities? Group 3. Ooh, you have the star. So we have the star here with 17. You may be or are a budding light worker, or someone who is maybe interested in Reiki or in energy work for healing. There is something about healing. The star has a lot to do with healing, transformative magic, but also has a bit of a water and air element there. So we're going to see what else comes in. So Group 3. What do we have, Group 3? Group 3. Okay, so I ended up just taking both of these, but I think it's kind of funny because I was revisiting my last psychic gifts reading just out of curiosity to see what I did for the setup and everything, and the 10 of Cups actually came up in one of the readings. So if you guys watched my previous one and this came up again, definitely let me know in the comments down below and see how it resonates this time. But we have the 10 of Cups and the Tower with 16 here. So we have 16 and the 10 of Cups. So it goes from 16, 17, and 10. In tarot, 16 happens right before 17, obviously, but it also can talk about big transformational shifts. And so I feel like you've already, either you're currently going through a really big transformation yourself and learning to heal, or you've gone through a transformation yourself quite recently or in the past and I feel like this is probably the higher majority. Maybe you've already gone through your spiritual awakening, you've already gone through a lot of the work, and you're like putting in the work to knock that tower down, these foundations that no longer serve you, that no longer work for you. And I feel like you're knocking those down and finally starting to see the light that it is you and how you can embrace your gifts and also spread them out to your community. There is something about community, there's something about family, and there's something about also more of that water element. So there is something about water being a great part in your modalities and the work that you do, in the healing that you do, either that's through, and this doesn't always have to be on a spiritual level. Like we always talk about that we have to use them in a spiritual way or in a way that is stereotypically spiritual. In fact, like with light workers, energy workers, with Reiki healing and all that kind of stuff. But it also could be like a massage therapist or someone who works in like float tanks or something like that with all of that water. So see how it resonates for you. It doesn't always have to be in the way that we always see. You could also just be a health worker that uses your psychic gifts in that way as well. But there is something about always wanting to keep your flow, always wanting to keep swimming and keep moving, and that your emotions are a big part of how your magic works and how your intentions are tied to the magic that you do. So before I waffle on even further, before we've even really dove in here, I'm going to go ahead and get you some more cards, some more information here. So group 3. So we have talent. Like I said, for those of you who have already been doing this for a while, I think a lot of people in your community already recognize you as being very talented. I've stated this before. The one thing I have with the word talent that I don't particularly love is it's this idea that you didn't have to go through anything or any work to receive this talent, right? Like you were just born with talent. But it's not really true. Sometimes people just have an innate call towards one thing and put in the work to make that talent come true, or to put in the effort to get to a talented stage. So, not everybody has to be a prodigy to be talented. You can be just in general have a lot of ambition and goals behind those talents that you have, and a lot of work ethic as well that had to go into it. So there is something about the moon showing up here. There is also dancing or possibly using your body as a way to heal others, right? We have the hands here, and what's interesting is we have the hands behind. I'm going to pick all of these up. So we have the hands here that are healing, which with Reiki, and that's what's coming through the most for me, but definitely see how this resonates with your own healing modalities that you maybe already are using. But we do have the hands here, and with Reiki, as far as I know, you use your hands a lot to distribute that energy, and then we have more kind of Reiki energy happening with the hands here on the star. But what's interesting is you have your hands behind your back here, right? Like this tower, this foundation is falling. You're getting rid of these old ideas that don't serve you anymore. It has fallen. It's over. You've had your spiritual awakening. You realize how much stronger and better and more powerful you are. And you possibly are currently going through this. And if you are, there might be messages from pile 2 as well for you. But your hands are behind your back here. Almost like you're like holding back your power, holding it back. So, and using this magic wand, right? So I think that a lot of your magic comes through more so with healing others, as a way of also healing yourself. And I think you use your body, your hands, as a great way to heal. I think also just in general, you're very talented in the creative arts, because we do have that flowing energy that happens here. We have this beautiful quilt. So there is something about, I think you like to create handmade gifts for other people. I think you like to dance as a way to express yourself, express your passion. Some people, we talk about like, sorry for the blur there, but we talk about magic as if it is only spell jars or, very traditional magic or ceremonial magic, but sometimes there is the idea of just tribal dance, right? or dancing around a fire, or dancing in your room in the middle of the night with your underwear and just like going for it, right? You're just like free. So there is something about dancing as a great way to not only express yourself, but also empower yourself and to understand your magical gifts and abilities so much stronger. So definitely seek out how the fluidity of your body can be a great place for you to unlock some of these abilities that you have. This also is telling me that you have a lot of clair tangent or clair, where you can basically have a clear feeling, where you can feel certain sensations through your body. Maybe you get chills, maybe that's through like ASMR, but there is something about that coming in where a lot of it you can really feel and understand. You have a very inner knowing and inner feeling about how those come through within your senses, within like your skin and within your nerves and touch. But I do want to dive into that even deeper, so we're going to go ahead and look even further here. So group three, what do we have coming in here for group 3? Sorry, I thought I wasn't recording my audio for a second. So group 3, interesting, we were just talking about clear hearing, right? But there's more messages here, because the clear or clair that is coming through is we have clear smell, and this one isn't always one that everyone always understands, but seeing as we have the striped skunk, if you guys have ever smelled skunk, you know when you need to back off, because we have clear here, and it also says what kind of release would protect clarity in my space. So this is really just honestly creating a protective space for yourself. But that is, and you also have the air and, you have the water and fire element showing up here. But anyways, I'm getting off track. Basically what I was trying to say though is that you have clear smell coming in. So there is something about smells that are really important to you. Maybe you use incense, that's a way to bring it in with the air element, or maybe essential oils, seeing as you have the water element. Do be careful with essential oils. I know a lot of people, it's very trendy right now, but definitely look into the health sides of how you're using them, what types of ones you're using, which ones are actually essential oils, what brands you're using. Definitely be careful with those, because they can have more negative sides to them if you don't look into it. But basically I just wanted to say though that you can use also like spritzing sprays or perfume could be a really big part of your magic. So definitely look into like spells that you can do with like perfumes, or doing it into your beauty rituals, or your skin care that you do, or even maybe bath bombs and stuff. The scents that you are using are going to be a real big part of the intentions that you're putting in. So not only when you're looking up for ingredients for spell work and things like that, be sure that you're also looking into the specific ingredients that you're using in terms of the way that they smell, and use it intuitively. Just because a book says that it represents protection or fertility or abundance, look into it with your own I was going to say ears, but your own nose, and just like smell the chamomile or whatever and be like, okay, that means sleepiness for me, or that means healing for me, or who knows, maybe it'll be completely different than what everyone says and it means like abundance for you. So definitely use your own intuition when it comes to that. Release the idea of what others are saying it means, and just really follow your own heart when it comes to that. But let's go ahead and dive even deeper. So group 3 here. What do we have coming in for any more magical, spiritual gifts and abilities for group 3? What do we have? Feel free to send your energy in as well. My goodness. The moment I say that, I swear that happens almost every time. But I'm going to go ahead and take this one because it was just the one that was calling to me the most. So we have the anchor, and it says 35, as well as the 9 of blades, or the 9 of swords here. So we have the anchor. The anchor talks about anchoring yourself down. It has a lot of that earth element, especially since you have all this water, right? We have water here, we have water river flowing, and then we have this anchor. What I think is interesting is we have this flowing water beside you. or whoever you are within this picture. And then we have the anchor again beside all of this water. So it's telling me that your anchor within this is finding a spiritual community. So I think that especially if you are still at the beginning stages, you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to be doing with all of these magical gifts, you're not really sure, definitely look into a mentor or someone who can teach you Reiki or teach you these healing modalities or teach you health work, or whatever it is that you are learning and growing in, and definitely do that with your own insights, making sure that you get that tingly feeling that these are the right people. Definitely don't get yourself into any suspicious places. Listen to those red flags. But if you find like a really nice, wonderful coven or people that really seem like pretty chill people, there is something about maybe wanting to be a part of a spiritual community. There's a lot of ones that you could check out online. You can hang out in my Instagram if you want, and there's lots of wonderful people that you can learn and grow with there that I highlight all the time, because a lot of you guys who watch my videos are into this kind of stuff too. So definitely check that out there. But there is something about needing to anchor yourself down, anchor those and this kind of came in with pile 2, which is why I think it's important that you see maybe both piles if that's calling to you, if you weren't sure if you wanted pile 2 or 3. But there is something about wanting to ground all of this energy. So you have all this water, all this flow, and you just need to ground it into something. And grounding it down into a community that understands you and that fulfills you, that makes you feel whole and fulfilled, possibly one that works under the moon or under the stars as well. I think you're really good at doing your spell work at nighttime, especially since the tower is happening during the day here, and this is almost happening at like evening hours. I do think there's something about working at night or working with spiritual energies, goddesses, gods, or with that nighttime energy that happens then. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pull you just one more here, and we're going to go ahead and dive into the rest of the reading with the charms and the letter tiles, so do stay tuned for those. But let's see, group 3. What do we have coming in for group 3? So I'm going to go ahead and take these two since they fell upright, and one just flew right into my lap. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and show you them all since I picked them up. But we're just going to kind of fly through these to see how they resonate for you. But we have breathe in a fresh new start, believe in yourself, you already know the answer, and ground yourself in love. So feel free to pause the screen if you want to look at these even deeper. But seeing as you already know the answer and believe in yourself, there is something about if you aren't sure, and even with this breathe in a fresh new start, if you're not sure about joining a coven or talking about this to other people, possibly you're in the broom closet or you're just at the very beginning stages, I think you already know that you're ready for this path, that you have talent for this path, you have space for this within you, and I think it's just believing in yourself, believing that you have these gifts and abilities, that you are far more powerful than you think, and also grounding that in a place of love, because if you shy away from these, it's just going to make it harder for you to understand them. And it's going to be easier for you to just keep pushing them back and suppressing them, which is just going to stunt your growth. So definitely look into them. Allow yourself to play within this space and to clear away what no longer serves you, what isn't working for you anymore, what people, what realities that just don't really align with this path that you're heading on in a spiritual way. So with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and move on to your charms and letter tiles. And I've said this to all 3 piles, but I definitely haven't been leaving enough time for them. So definitely if you have questions about them, let me know in the comments down below and I'll try to get to them. But hopefully you have enough time to go through both. But here we are, group 3. Okay. So I saw Dive and Dave from the first get-go, and then a few other letters. So we're going to go ahead and see what we have here. So we have DNVAI, another I, S, P, T, O, and E. So we definitely have dive here. So diving in. I also was getting with dive and the idea that you have more of that smell side. So if you literally like that, something smells fishy around here, that's literally how your clairs work. That I really think you can really smell when something's fishy in a situation, both with that tangible feeling that you get in your skin, that like your skin's crawling from it, or that you just are ready to you'll just know, you'll just be like, I can smell, and just be like, okay, something smells off, something just feels off. Maybe the air smells cooler all of a sudden. It can be much more subtle than you think, but there's something there. Also, just in general, that just is telling us again, there's more of that water element. So definitely work with water within your healing modalities. There's a lot of magic that you can do when you are driven to use that to dive into healing modalities. Maybe that's actually diving. Maybe that's something that is really healing for you, or possibly just in general, there's something to do with water. So definitely look into water magic. So I'm going to go ahead and put these at the top and do your charms. Do let me know if you see anything else within these and see what comes through for you in the comments down below. I love to have those conversations with you. I love to see what you guys see, especially since this is all about what you guys see. And as I went through all of these, definitely see what your own intuition is pulling in, because this is all about your intuitive gifts and abilities. So definitely see what comes in, especially with these charms. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so we had the letter E fly almost all the way off, so I'm going to put that in here. We also have the letter N that hit two different charms. I'm not going to use that one though, because it didn't feel as connected, but this one is the earth element, so there is something with N and the earth element. We have the learning, so you're definitely still learning and growing here. I'm going to go ahead and sort these out so we can really see them. More budding growth. Ooh, you have both the apples coming in. That's interesting. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom you in so you can actually see what's going on here. But as always, take a second to see what comes in here for yourself. I'm going to definitely be flying through these, so we're going to just see what there is. We have the tower moment showing up here next to the letter or the number 6. 6 represents harmony, or even can represent communities coming together. So definitely something about healing yourself, healing traumas, using magic as a place to explore that space in you and kind of rebuild. And I think a lot of that's going to come through your spiritual community, and it's going to come through having that space. There is something about focus. This represents having a lot of deep focus. And like I said, you're smelling out those situations with those bad eggs, because we have the rotten apple here, and I'm trying to show you the rotten part. Yeah, so it looks like a little rotten apple, like a little worm got in. So definitely I think that even made me think of hearing as well, like you have a worm in your ear. So definitely listen as well as smell and feel. But I think your biggest and strongest one is honestly smell, and then we have hearing and feeling, as well as possibly a tiny bit of taste, because we do have 2 apples showing up here, but this represents the apple of knowledge. So there is something about still needing to gain quite a lot of knowledge. A lot of your spiritual path has a lot to do with your own self-growth. It isn't about necessarily the whole, but you're trying to grow on your own at the very beginning stages, and then use that to grow a community. And then we have the poppy. So again, you can be a really great spiritual leader if you want to, or a healthcare worker, someone that's very high up in that. And then we also have cycles. So this could be something that's happened more than once, and it's a soul journey that continues to happen, that's happened more than once, that this isn't the first time you've been magical in your life, and it won't be the last. And then we also have the letter E showing up here. So that may represent a name, a place, or a specific person. But those are all the different little charms we have here. As always, see what really resonates. But we're going to go ahead and close off this reading. I do hope you found this useful and helpful on your own spiritual path. And especially if you're still at the very beginning stages, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Also, please be sure to give this video a like if you really did like it. It helps so much, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you to everyone who has liked the video, and let me know what your thoughts are. And if you are new and would like to support this channel even further, please be sure to subscribe and check out the videos that I put out every single Monday, as well as check out the private and personal readings that I do. I do snail mail readings where I send a letter in the mail to you on anything that you're really interested in, on career, your own psychic and magical gifts and abilities, if you want to dive even deeper into that side of yourself, into past lives, into your career, into anything that you're really interested in that I feel comfortable reading into. But I will send that letter to you in the mail. It is typewritten on a vintage typewriter, and also comes with magical handmade ritual items that you can use with a personalized custom sigil, as well as specific handmade magical spell paper that I create with my own two hands specifically for each of you. So if that's something you're interested in, then please be sure to let me know in a DM on Instagram or an email. I'd love to work with you guys and support you on this path. But with all of that said, I think that is everything. I am wishing you guys the best. Definitely check out those bath rituals. Check out diving into that side of yourself in terms of water and those clairs that are coming in. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.